Salutations Rangers, General Bradley 101 back at you again with some more lore. And today's video, boys and gals, we're back talking about the lineage of Lord Adorable himself, the Praetorian Lemon of Terror. Yes indeedy, Rogal Dorn. And we're taking a look at his very chaotic, very zealous, very well-to-do, and incredibly effective, yet just as crazy, Black Sons of Sigismund himself, the Templar Brethren's successors, the Black Templars. But more importantly, we're talking about what does the future hold for them? What are they going to do? And more importantly, how is it going to infect the Imperium? And are one of the most devout, zealous followers of the God Emperors maybe in fact fight against his own returned sons? But sharpen in, buckle up, and let's get cracking like a now with today's video. When talking about this, what exactly do I mean? Well, for those of you who don't know, the Black Templars are a very, very zealous chapter. They revere the Emperor as a god. They're one of the few Space Marine chapters that do. Usually, most Space Marines simply see him as the Emperor of mankind, the master of humanity. And they revere him as the first amongst equals, the greatest man of humanity and their lord and master. But not exactly as their god. That is very much a Black Templars thing, and that stems from Sigismund. Sigismund did not always have the greatest relationship with Dorn. In fact, Dorn saw a lot of problems and issues with Sigismund, and he tried to work them out the best that he could. But eventually this would devolve into the Black Templars eventually developing a worship for the Emperor. And to my knowledge, they are the only second founding chapter that has come to view him as such. And they are indeed the most potent. The Black Templars are zealous incarnate. They worship the God Emperor with a ferocious frenzy that would make even the most pious sister of battle go, oh my god, that's kinda hot, not gonna lie. Unless you're like my one friend who continuously decides to depict them as the old version of sisters, which view them as mutants, which is kind of fucking annoying, considering that I am playing a Space Marine in our current Dark Heresy campaign, and he has called me mutant about 3 separate times, and has only been one session of the campaign. God damn it, why are you the way that you are? But my friend's ashholish behavior aside, the Black Templars are indeed, without a doubt, the most zealous Space Marine chapter of the Imperium, and the most one strongly attached to the Ecclesiarchy. Now, you might see where this is going, as Guilliman has gotten back. Pretty much every single time he's interacted with the Ecclesiarchy, he has reacted in one of two ways. One, mild annoyance, but being the statesman that he is, he knows how to smile and nod. Or two, and very, very rarely, there have been times where he's absolutely lost his shit. Because of circumstances involved, even he has a breaking point. And he's made more than one preacher absolutely shit themselves thinking that Mr. Blueberry himself is about to show him what that fist do. And that is a very big fist. Mr. Gallagher does not like the Ecclesiarchy. The Ecclesiarchy does not see eye to eye with him. And eventually, when push comes to shove, the Ecclesiarchy is not going to budge. Meaning that Guilliman is going to have to use his big old magic blue hand to shove them themselves. AKA Ecclesiarchy Rebellion. Or, in the very worst case scenario, Imperium Civil War 2.0. Regardless of which way it is, the only difference is how severe it's going to be. But the Ecclesiarchy is eventually going to throw hands with Guilliman. That's a given. So the question is, what would the Black Templars do? A simple answer, an easy answer, would just say, oh, well they would follow the Ecclesiarchy, or oh, they would follow Guilliman completely. And both of those have very valid arguments. For the Ecclesiarchy argument, we can refer to Knights of the Throne, in which Helbrecht first meets Guilliman. He refers to the Emperor as the God Emperor, and even when Guilliman is presenting him with an option to get off his current crusade, he says, oh God Emperor, how you test me. Even when Guilliman flat out states the Emperor is not a god, Helbrecht thinks he's just testing his faith a little bit. So, even in the Grand High Master of the entirety of the Black Templar Crusades is a little bit on the delusional side. Even he, the arguably most well put together Black Templar, doesn't exactly get that the Emperor is not a god, even when his own son tells him that. And, as we previously established, the Black Templars are the most closely aligned chapter to the Ecclesiarchy. When the Ecclesiarchy calls, the Black Templars will answer. So, that's people's argument for saying, oh, they're going to betray Guilliman, Guilliman's going to have to purge them, and it's going to be a whole mess. But in the same vein, in the same book, and quite literally in the same chapter, hell, the same conversation, we see that Guilliman is able to connect to Helbrecht as a Space Marine. He's able to convince Helbrecht to do his duty, to not wander off on various separate amounts of vendettas and vengeance, but instead to do what is required of him. Because Dorn, above all, did duty. And he convinces him, not by simply saying Dorn would have done this, he connects with him by saying, you have never seen what happened to a brother who was broken. Referring to when Dorn broke his own sword when he discovered that the Emperor had died or was mortally wounded. Said sword was then reforged by Sigismund and became the Sword of the High Marshal, the one that Helbrecht currently bears. He connects to him on a human level, quite literally like an uncle connecting to a nephew, and he shares with him what it truly means to do what is right, what it means to follow what is right. And in the end, Helbrecht acquiesces. He gives up on his chase of Ghazghkull and redirects his crusades to the various shrine worlds which Guilliman had asked him, not commanded, asked. It even says so in the chapter itself. Helbrecht thought he was going to be a despot, but no, he was everything he was, if not more. He was so much more. And Guilliman, with nothing more than simply connecting to his nephew, is able to convince Helbrecht to do the right thing and to give up on his crusade target. Now, if you know anything about the Black Templars, this is huge, this is massive, this is insane. The Black Templars have a rule. They are never to stop crusading ever, and they cannot change their crusade target until the current one is dead. So for Helbrecht to do this, only a Primarch could get him to do this. And people point to this and they'll say, oh, Helbrecht will definitely choose Guilliman, because at the end of the day he's a space marine first and foremost. And he's not going to side with the goddamn random preachers when the literal son of the Emperor, brother of Dawn, is telling him what to do. And this answer is indeed also valid. The argument is there and it makes sense. But it's very simple to say, oh, the Black Templars would join this side, Black Templars would join that side. But in truth, the people who say that, well, they don't really know exactly how the Black Templars work. And I don't mean from a philosophical standpoint or a spiritual standpoint or a dogma standpoint. I mean from an organizational standpoint. Pre-return of Guilliman, it was confirmed that the Black Templars possessed anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 active Space Marines, and the same amount of neophytes. So there's approximately 12,000 to 14,000 Black Templars. Again, half of those being fully fledged battle brothers, the other half being neophytes. But that was pre-Return of Guilliman, pre-Fall of Cadia, and pre-The Great Rift. Now, with the reinforcement of the Primaris and the general increase in recruitment by the Black Templars, I think it's fair to say that those numbers have doubled, meaning that we have between 12,000 and 14,000 active battle brothers and the same amount of neophytes, meaning in total we get anywhere from 24,000 to 28,000. But the thing is though, those are not all centered around one legion, or one chapter rather. And, that begs the question, how exactly do the Black Templars get away with this when the Inquisition will murder a chapter for simply speaking the word chaos? Well, that's because of a loophole. It states that if a chapter is in a crusade, they are not withheld by the standards of the Codex Astartes, because a crusade is meant to be a one-time thing, last a couple years and then disband. That's the idea. The Black Templars on the quote-unquote eternal crusades. And Helbrecht himself has 1,000 Marines, but that's the base standard. Every another Black Templar marshal is the marshal of a crusade, and thus not beholden to the chapter. So if any Inquisitor comes a knockin', Helbrecht can simply point to that and say, look, all in order. Also, it does help that the Black Templars are very buddy-buddy with the Ecclesiarchy, and thus the Order Hereticus, so, there's that as well. But the fact of the matter is, Helbrecht does not have centralized command over the entirety of his 28,000 guys. He doesn't. Each and every Black Templar marshal has a command of a few hundred to a few thousand boys, separately. That's the big thing here. Separately. And we know that the Black Templar marshals have an insane amount of independent authority as well as free reign. The perfect example being during the Dawn of Fire series, specifically in Throne of Light, where we end up finding that a certain Black Templar chaplain actually executed their marshal, as the majority of the chapter voted to kill all of the Primaris and presumably the Custodes who were sent there to guide them. For those who don't know, each and every Primaris reinforcement is sent to a chapter. Each chapter is accompanied by one member of the Adeptus Custodes, most likely the Emissaries Imperatus, the shield host that is specifically designed to be diplomats as well as emissaries of the Emperor, and now Guilliman. Meaning that there was a Custodes there, who told the will of the Emperor, the will of Guilliman, yet there was indeed a high-ranking Black Templar chaplain who overrided his marshal, subsequently killing him, and the crazy thing is he was supported by most of the crusade, meaning that the majority of them, I don't know, say 75%, 60%, we don't exactly know, overthrew their marshal, killed the Primaris, and presumably the Custodes because the chaplain had decreed heresy against the God Emperor. Now, subsequently that crusade was purged and said to be killed, assumedly, we don't really know, it kind of just ends there. But the fact of the matter is, there was a chaplain who felt enough conviction to not only murder his marshal, but murder several hundred reinforcements of Primaris as well as a Custodes. Probably. Again, we assume the Custodes died because Custodes are great, but one Custodes against 1,000 Marines, not exactly going to be easy, especially if you get a melted to the back of the head. But we don't really know. But the fact of the matter is this. This shows us incredibly clearly that Black Templars, some of them, are fucking crazy. And they will do whatever they believe is in service of the God Emperor. It shows us that these Black Templars have more in common with the Word Bearers than they do the Sons of Dawn. And that is the true crux of the situation. Truth be told, we don't know exactly how many marshals there are, but we can take a guess. It's probably less than 10, give or take. Maybe it is 10, but it's around that number. It's definitely nothing above 15, and it's definitely nothing below 5. So you have about 15 or so marshals. Each of them command their own respective chapter, meaning that each of them will have to make a decision if Guilliman calls war against the Ecclesiarchy, or vice versa. So whilst I believe that Helbrecht as well as the OG Black Templars will side with Guilliman 100%, because whilst they are zealous, they have more sense than zealousness, at least in this regard. And when I say this regard, I mean the OG Black Templars under Helbrecht. Because again, we shows perfectly in that example during the Knights of the Throne, when Guilliman explained it to him in a way that Helbrecht could understand, he was moved. And ultimately, he followed the Primarch's will. He followed his duty overall. And his duty was more than his faith. Now, is that to say that every single Black Templar under Helbrecht's command will? Probably not. But we're probably going to get a heresy type situation, in which majority of chapters will declare for one side or the other, and there'll be remnants that will fight, die, or escape to the other loyalist/traitor chapters. And ultimately, that is the most realistic and honest way that this is going to go down. The Black Templars are not one united legion. There are many individual crusades, and each crusade has its own beliefs and wants and desires. And just as we saw in the Throne of Light, even if the Marshal and the High Command says something, all it takes is one crazy chaplain to rile everybody up and send them all into hell. The thing is though, what would that mean for the Black Templars? What would that actually end up happening if half the Black Templars, let's say, sided with the Ecclesiarchy over Guilliman? Well, ultimately, they would lose. The Ecclesiarchy is strong, but not nearly as strong as Guilliman and the rest of the Imperium. Not to mention with a Lion back, he might bring back 30k Lion, who is very fond of war crimes. So, what would happen to them? One, we could get a Dark Angels type situation, in which after the Imperium Civil War, Helbrecht would then be presented with what to do with these remaining Black Templars. There's a chance that some of them may turn Wardbearer and escape, and turn Chaos, which would be terribly ironic. And the Black Templars would become kinda like the Dark Ages again, unless Guilliman or the Lion actively tries to stop them. Completely obsessed with hunting down these quote-unquote fallen or the lost, to cleanse their honor of this deadly taint. But I don't want that to happen, and I don't think it will happen, because again, it's already kind of like the Dark Angels, and it feels kind of cheap to suddenly have the Dark Angels get removed, then just make the Black Templars that. I don't like it, and I don't think DA fans and IF fans would like it either. The second option is that these remaining Black Templars are then absorbed back into the chapter proper, and Guilliman may just get rid of the decentralized nature. He may see that the decentralized nature is what caused all this nonsense to happen, so he would put them all under one command of Helbrecht and make them a legion again, or a large chapter, or whatever's remaining. And he would probably institute a great deal of reforms. He would severely reduce the amount of religious dogma in the legion, and probably the entirety of the Imperium. But whatever changes he would make to the Imperium, the Black Templars would get a bit more heavier dose. He's not going to be able to completely remove the aspect of Emperor worship from them as a whole, but he can definitely reduce it a bit. And again, this will be a better idea and a better way in my opinion, because the Black Templars will quote-unquote absorb their shames. You have true sons of the Emperor saying that they're alright, that everything is okay, and they can operate again in a true crusade. One united crusade, one united legion. I think that would be the best case scenario for them. And, you know, it's a scenario that I would choose personally, because I think it just kind of makes sense, kind of like having it be an all-round type situation. But again, we don't really know. The third and the final option, and the worst option, is that at the end of this civil war, the Black Templars are so terribly broken psychotically and emotionally that they end up just going absolutely batshit insane. The remaining people become self-destructive. Let's say Helbrecht tragically passes during this whole kerfuffle. The remaining Black Templars would basically crusade themselves unto death, and eventually they would become zealots. Even more zealots than what they are, they'd be flagellants, and eventually they would die. They would pass, and they would become remembered as the final crusade of Sigismund's legacy. A very terrible ending, but some would say maybe a perfect ending. The Black Templars are a fire that burns bright, but the brighter the fire, the quicker it goes out. And who knows? Maybe it is better to burn brightly and burn hot, if quickly, than slowly linger before turning into cold embers. Only the smoking ruin of a once illustrious and beautiful glory. Some would argue that's the best. I would argue the second option personally, but I really don't know. But at the end of the day, the Black Templars are going to have to make a choice. And, as I said, they're going to split. The question is how big that split is, how terrible the war is, and how long it lasts. If it's a quick and easy war, I can imagine the Black Templars just getting a little slap on the wrist and carrying on. If it's a long drawn-out affair, I can definitely see the Black Templars being affected by this. If not them being wholly turned secular, or as secular as they can be, if not becoming outright self-destructive and losing themselves. Becoming another list of martyrs for the Wall of Holy Terror. But whatever the fate of the Black Templars will be, the Sons of Sigismund have before them war. The question is, what type of war will they fight? And who will they fight it for? Those who champion the divinity of the God Emperor and their most vaunted of allies, or the actual son of the Lord and Master? Only time will tell. But whatever it is, the outcome will change them forever. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below. To all my Black Templars fans, which of those 3 options would you guys pick? Type 1, 2, or 3 in the comment section below and let me know. Again, personally, I think the second option, but could be anything. Or GW could just pull a rabbit out of the hat and make a 5th option. 5th option, 4th option, and 5th option. Any type of options. Hell, maybe even 69. Nice. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching, and even more massive thank you to my members. Shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Major of the Void. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith of Fireheart, and Mr. Corn's Butcher. Shout out to my Corporal tier members, Mr. Bowen and Mr. Tremail the Math Kitty. And then finally, but certainly not least, shout out to my Private tier members, Mr. Thomas Waslons, Mr. Ivan_SVW, Mr. Michael Hayeda, and Mr. Hattori's Cuz. And very big shout out to my Patreon members, Mr. Fortus Unum, General Alexander, and Mr. Bulwin. I'll get it all sorted out properly in a bit. Like I said, by the end of this week everything will be sorted and I'll be able to put it all together, but thank you all so very much. It means the absolute will to me that you guys do this, and I am truly and sincerely just beyond happy that this exists. The fact that you guys have so much faith in me just brings a smile to my face, and I promise I will do right by all of you, and you will get exactly what you asked for, and goddamn it, even more so. But if you want to join these awesome members, sign up today. You can sign up with the YouTube membership or the Patreon. I prefer the YouTube membership myself, but Patreon works just as well because apparently Patreon wants it to exist. And you can early access to videos, behind the scenes stuff, polls, a hand in running the channel. If any big things happen, you guys get to it. There's not really that much because I'm a very simple guy and I have no time, but if any big thing happens, you guys will be the first one to get at it. And to gain my love and support. But remember, this will always be free. Whether you give your boy a dollar or not, I will love you just the same. Mwah! Yes, I will. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been awesome and amazing people. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to stay strong out there, boys and girls. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers. I can't wait for someone to go read. There's no way the Black Templars could have killed the Custodes. I'm sorry. Let's put you against 1,000 rats. I wonder who would win then.